So let's continue with the I Spit on Your Grave franchise with I Spit on Your Grave 3 Vengeance is Mine. Just a heads up for anybody who is wanting to check these out. The remake and its 2 sequels are available free with ads on Vudu. So go ahead and download Vudu if you want to check these out for free. I don't think the original's on there. It might be. So check for that as well. I think the original's on Prime or something. So the 4 out of the 5 films in this franchise you can watch either for free or if you have a subscription to like a Prime or something. But Vudu's free, for the ad ones. So there you go. Anyways, all right. So this is the return of Jennifer Hills. Now I think this was kind of a missed opportunity because I would have found it cool had they. Now this is my own personal opinion, of course, which is my channel in general, obviously. That's why I started it. But I think it would have been really cool to see Jennifer Hills and Katie from the second movie. Katie's her name, right? I think so. Team up in this movie. I think that would have been a really fun thing to do. Have them meet. People could be, oh, well, that's pretty coincidental. It's a film. Just look past that kind of stuff. It's it is what it is. But if they would have both been in rape counseling together, and then one of them would have said something, and that would made the other one go, I think she's up to something. Like, I know what's going on here. And then they got together and they kind of exchanged stories a little bit more and more, and then kind of just kept pushing what they could divulge and then realizing, holy shit, they both had done very similar things, and maybe they should team up and take out rapists together. I think that could have been a badass movie to make as a part 3. Not only have your main character from the first one return, but you have your main character from the second one return for a third and have it all. I wonder if that was even pitched or was even considered as an idea. I think that would have been really fun. But anyway, so she is she's in therapy, but she's also in a group, rape survivor group. And, I have to wonder how much of this film is perception, because we do see a lot of violent outbursts by her in the way of like fantasy. And, I've seen a decent amount of Lifetime movies, not a lot, but, a few. And the joke always is with the Lifetime movies is that all men are scum and all men are out to objectify women and take advantage of them. And, they're all shitheads. And so with this movie, I feel like with her, she is constantly seeing men in this negative light. I feel like we may not be seeing it exactly how it's playing out when it comes to that side of things. Because every guy in this movie essentially is shit. Outside of Oscar, I think is his name. What's his, Koza, and everyone keeps pronouncing it wrong. He's a good guy. He's just, he's had horrible things happen to him. So every guy in this movie is a shithead besides him. And I just have to wonder if her coworker isn't a bad guy. So she doesn't really perceive him that way. I don't know. We'll get it more into that. But I don't know. The whole like men are shit thing in all of these movies. Like, I get it. I guess the entire I Spit on Your Grave franchise is just comprised of terrible men. Although in the second movie, her neighbor is a good guy and the detective's a good guy. He's just not he wasn't proficient enough at his job to protect her. Oh, and the priest is a good guy as well, who wants to help her out. So I guess there's a couple decent men in this franchise, but I don't know. This one was just like every guy she encounters, the guys she walks by on the street, the way they're speaking to her, like everybody in the film, the detective even. Not that the detective's a bad guy, he's just that kind of guy who really just, he plays by the rules and goes by the book of the law, which is what they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to get emotionally invested. But how do you not get emotionally invested when a rape survivor is murdered and it was probably her boyfriend? I mean, more than likely it was her boyfriend. Yeah, that's one of the things. But maybe we're just seeing it how it is, and she lives in an area where all men are scum. But there you go. And I mean, this girl is just plagued with PTSD, which makes sense. But even when she's on the run, she's in her mind reliving the events from the first film where she was running from her attackers. So just, for anyone who struggles with PTSD and whatever it may be, I personally do. So I don't feel like I have it. I have it really bad, but not in this way. I don't really relive things because there's not triggers for me like that I'm conscious about. There might be subconscious triggers where I'm like affected by it, my mood drastically changes, and I'm just not savvy to it. But in this, she is very obviously affected and knows what it is. Like, this is making me think back to when I was raped. Because she has a very specific moment on what happened to her. So she has a very traumatic event, one singular event. So that's really easy to kind of trace everything back to, as to where other people who have a collection of events throughout their life that creates a PTSD, then it's hard to kind of, follow back to what it may be. So, she's always aware of what is triggering her, and just seeing her running around and having to deal with that's that's hard, man, for sure. She has changed her name to Angela because she's wanted to run away from the name Jennifer Hills. How easy is it to just change your name and go and get a job at a regular place of business? It's not like she has some kind of under the table job. Like, she clearly works in a job where she would have to provide proper documentation to work there. So, I mean, changing your name, would she legally have changed her name? I mean, that's a possibility. But the cops are trying to question Jennifer Hills. So she did not legally change her name. Otherwise, the cops would have been like, okay, this is who we're looking for. You can change your name legally, but we're still going to be able to find you. So she just changed her name herself. I mean, it's not impossible to get a job under the table like that, but in the job that she's in, I just don't see that being a reality. So I think that's just one of those movie things where you got to go, whatever, doesn't really matter. But I would be curious to see if I could just change my name, make up whatever I want, and go into a job. I mean, I'd have to provide my social security number, and a driver's license. I mean, you could go get a fake, but if they were to run it through a database, if they were to look into it at all, it would clearly come up as a fake. So, I don't know. Anyway, I've put way too much thought into that, but when the cop questions her, I was just thinking about her job and being like, how would she even have been able to get a job with a different name? I don't know. I'm not somebody who's ever tried such a thing, so I don't know how easy or hard it would be, and it would depend on where she went. The last name that she takes on, we find out, is another name for Lucifer, which is told to us by Mr. Koza. And he was the avenging angel. So I thought that was cool that they changed her name to kind of fit her legacy of this franchise. She's become the avenging angel. And he used to be the most beautiful of angels. I think it's very poetic of what they're saying there. Like, she was this beautiful angel, and then she kind of had a fall from grace. And now she's, kind of stuck in hell and punishing the wicked. I mean, it makes perfect sense. I didn't even put that together until, like, right now, all of the symbolisms and the metaphors of that name But yeah, it does make sense. So I just wrote down the Avenging Angel thinking something else, but now that I'm actually fleshing it out, yeah, that's perfect. That's actually very poetic. So I dig that even more than when I wrote this down. All right, moving on. The friend that she meets who ends up getting murdered, she's just a little annoying. Not to say that she's not a realistic character, but of course with film, even if a character is realistic, we can all be like, well, even though that's how it would be or how she would be or whatever, she's still annoying to me. So I can't deny that she was a little grating on me. But overall, I did like her connection with her, and it was a driving force for kind of what got her back into the game per se. But yeah, I did find her annoying. And I was, of course, I don't want some rape victim to be murdered, but because it's part of the plot, it's a plot point that drives the story forward. And because I wasn't really that excited about her, it was like, okay, she's dead. I'm not pissed off about that. I get why the other girl is, and I want to see the repercussions of such. But yeah, I'm done with her. So she was annoying me a tad. Not too bad though. But I did like that they beat the shit out of this dad who's raping his underage daughter, and I think he's the daughter. Is that dad or is that stepdad? I can't remember now. I watched this a few days ago, but regardless, I mean, I think they're equally as horrible. I don't know why. I don't know. I guess if it was your biological father, it'd be just a little worse because it's incestuous and that's his own blood child. I mean, he should be less inclined to do such a horrendous act. But as I said, I mean, you're talking semantics at that point. You're splitting hairs. They're both about as horrible as one thing could be, because she has to live with this guy and she has to put on a smile, and her mom won't believe her. So she's not only being betrayed by the father, she's being betrayed by the mother as well, who won't listen to her daughter and all of it. And her whole story is just awful. One thing that I think would have been great here, but that would add a whole nother layer, and this is where the whole vengeance thing would play into this, where sometimes it isn't a good idea, and some people think it's never a good idea. But that's obviously a debate to have if you want. But regardless of what side you're on, I think what would have been an interesting dynamic to throw in here would have been her avenging a rape victim like this young girl, and then the realization after that the girl had made the story up. Because, as much as I want to support any woman who has been assaulted, and I know it's a tad taboo to talk about, there are false claims. Like, unfortunately, more than we would like to know. Like, that shit gets thrown around very loosely, more so than often. Or more often. Wait, more so than often? No. Is that the right way to phrase that? That sounds wrong. I don't know. Regardless, that happens way too often. I think maybe that's what I was trying to... More often. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, imagine a fake claim here that gets someone killed, and then kind of the repercussions of vigilante justice and not knowing one's guilt for sure. And you just abused and tortured and murdered an innocent man. Now that would be, as I said, a whole nother layer, a whole nother thing. But I don't think they'd want to throw it into this, because it would kind of take away from her character arc, because it would kind of... But I don't know, at the same time, I feel like she does lose it at the end here. And I don't dislike that about the movie. I'm not really honestly sure how I feel about that within the film. But I'm more on the side I don't like it, but I can't deny that it's not realistic. So I'm jumping ahead a little bit, or a lot of it here, I suppose, but when she loses it at the end and just starts like wanting to kill people, she's trying to kill her coworker who was shown to be nothing but a good guy. I mean, there's nothing to suggest that this guy's a predator, but she's so, you know, she's so overwhelmed and sure that every man is just garbage at this point that she's just willing to kill everyone. And in fact, she tries to goat people into it. It's like, as the other guy says, it's entrapment. Now, the boyfriend of the girl who he murdered, this guy fucking deserves it, and we're glad to see him shot to death here. But she does have some entrapment moments. Now, do I agree with the way that guy talks to that girl on the street? You know, the guy trying to look cool in front of his friends and whatnot? Absolutely not. Of course not. This guy's a piece of shit for how he talks to women. Does he deserve to die? To be mutilated and have his dick cut off and everything that she had planned for him? No. He, unless you actually act on your talk, then, you know, the worst that should happen to you is someone should scare the shit out of you, maybe beat you up a little bit, but death is extreme for words. But yeah, I mean, she, and when he's pushed, because this is all an act. This is something that he gets street cred for. This is the way he thinks that he feels power and strength. And when she offers him a blowjob, he's a guy. He's going to be, you know, not that all guys are like this, of course, but that especially someone like this is going to be like, okay, I'll take a blowjob, you know. But then when she's like, you know, are you gonna rape me or something? He's like, whoa, what the fuck are you talking about? Nobody's getting raped here. Like, this guy is not a rapist. He's an asshole. I don't think we could debate that because of how he talks to women. As I said, I know it's all for show, but just because it's for show doesn't mean that you're not antagonizing this girl and making her fear that she's going to be raped or assaulted or even just embarrassed and being talked to like a piece of meat, like she's only good for one thing, which is sexism at its core. So, yeah, but just when she tells him, "Oh, I'm gonna fucking, you know, rape," and he's just like, "The fuck are you talking about? Nobody's getting raped here." In that moment, I'm like, "Oh, come on, this guy is—he's not the monster you think he is. He's just an asshole." So, having him die would have almost been like what I had said earlier with a trick being fulfilled with the vengeance of that dad dying, having the girl lied, the plot I had thrown at you, plot twist that I had thrown at you. It'd be something like that. I mean, it's almost similar. If she had killed this guy in that sequence, the asshole guy, it would have been like she killed somebody who did not deserve it, you know, by this film's standards anyways. So yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about her quote unquote heel turn at the end here, because she's the one who kind of ultimately becomes the victim. And that is part of the whole act of vengeance, is it's supposed to corrupt you and you turn into the villain at the end. So her 1 and 3 kind of becomes her full story arc, to where she starts as the hero and then lives long enough to see herself as the villain. Dark Knight quote there. So yeah, I'm okay with it, because I do think it could absolutely happen to someone who becomes obsessive with you know, her PTSD and thinking that all men are scum. And what would Sarah Butler's character, Jennifer Hills, be like after the events of the first one? She couldn't just go right back to her life. She would struggle mentally. She would start to demonize and see men as a certain way, see them in a certain light. She'd never be the same again. And something could trigger her into regressing back into that state of vengeance. So I think the arc makes sense. It's just, you don't want to see her fall like that. You don't want to see her put these guys in these situations, without reason. So, as I said, that's where I'm kind of like, oh man, I like her character, but she's making poor decisions now, so I can't support her actions. So it's hard to watch your anti-hero turn into kind of a straight-on antagonist, period. The guys that she's going after do not deserve it. Anyway, getting back. So she she goes after one of these dudes, and she full-on fillets this guy's dick right down the center, boom, and then bites the head off and spits it into his face. Brutal. Oh, wait, sorry, I'm mixing up the guys. The guy's dick she fillets is her friend's boyfriend. Okay, that's right. And then the big dude that she stabs in the neck and then gets shot is the guy who raped Koza's daughter. Okay, that's right. I watched this a few days ago, so now I'm putting it back together. But anyway, oh man, she cuts the dick inside, rips it apart, turns it in. She's giving him free vaginoplasty. I don't know what those are called. They're sex change operation. I know that's probably not the PC way to say it anymore. Isn't there some other version? I don't really care. But yeah, that was a gnarly one. Absolutely brutal. And then the other dude, the dad, this is what I'm saying. If she would have brutalized that guy in that way, putting a lead pipe up his ass and then taking a sledgehammer and just slamming it up into him, what a brutal death. Could you imagine? Oh my God. Could you fucking imagine having that happen to you? Oh man, that guy's death was painful. Just painful. Imagine finding out that he was innocent, that she'd been lying the whole time. That would have been a great break for her, where she would have had a total mental breakdown and then started like becoming delusional, trying to make herself right. That would have been interesting. But then your ending wouldn't have been the same, because at the ending, she's still filled with angst and fantasies of murderous intent. So I'm not sure. You could have restructured things, because the ending isn't exactly necessary. But I do like where it kind of ends there. And I like when she's talking to the detective and she's got this smug face on and she's questioning her about her alibis and where she bought certain things and her quick fire responses, and just kind of, as I said, just like the real smug look on her face the whole time. I thought that was like the best part of her performance in this. Not that her performance is bad anywhere. I just really liked that exchange with the detective 100%. Really sad that Oscar takes the blame for the killing of his daughter's rapist. Although, no, he says that he killed the other guys. That's right. But when he comes and he slits the wrists and everything, I feel really, really bad for that dude. And yeah, I mean, I already talked about all this stuff. And yeah, I think that's that. So overall, a good movie. Not as good as the first two. I think this is kind of a missed opportunity. I kind of laid out everywhere where I think this could have been better. But what ultimately would have made this better for me would have been a pairing, a duo, a tag team event of the main protagonists from the two prior installments in the franchise. So what do you guys think about that? What do you think about this one? And it is time for me to move on to the next dreadful film in this franchise. So I'm going to move over to that right now. See you there.